Coffee, and today we are taking a look at a timeless classic. It's a Bob Dylan song. It's called Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. And if you like Bob Dylan, I do. This is one of those classic, it's just a beautiful song. To me, this song is about forgiveness. It's about moving on. It's about, letting bygones be bygones and just continuing down your journey. You don't have to live too long in this life to be able to relate to that. And what's really cool about a song like this, I'm going to show you how I play it. We're going to do it in the key of C, and then we're going to capo up to the key of E. On the original recording, he's playing it in the key of E. And, like a lot of Bob Dylan music, there are some musical imperfections, no doubt about it. But also, like a lot of Bob Dylan music, there is such that room of that song is painted in honesty. And it is so relatable. And I love it. And I love all the glorious imperfection of his voice because I believe him. And I'm saying all this to say this to you. This is one of those songs, like a lot of Bob Dylan songs, and this may be like the magic of Bob Dylan, if you will. It's almost like he performed it in such a way where he was like, now you take this and run with it. And there's been plenty of people that have redone Dylan songs, Jimi Hendrix, Dave Matthews, Guns N' Roses, Joni Mitchell, it's an endless list. And when you learn this, and I'm going to show you how I approach it, my hope is that you play it in a way where you can identify with it, you can deliver it in a way that's honest, and that it means something to you, right? And the way to do that is just to perform it and to practice performing it and to kind of go somewhere in your mind. All of us have different things that we've had to move on from, right? And this is a great song about that. So I'll show you how I do it. It's a pretty close approximation to Dylan. But one of the things funny about Bob Dylan, too, is he would always improvise the lyrics a little differently. I remember I was watching him do a performance of Simple Twist of Fate. And he said, instead of saying, somewhere off a saxophone plays, that time he just said clarinet for whatever reason, right? I love that. So I'll do this at the end, and I may change a lyric or do something else lyrically, who knows? But it'll be honest as I can do. So this song, we're going to think about this like it's in the key of C, but we're going to capo up to capo 4. And if you don't use a whole lot of capos, or you just don't capo much at all, you'll find that whenever you capo, you're going to want to tune it while the capo is on. If you're doing it in the heat of the moment, I understand how sometimes that can be problematic, but if you can, that's a great time to talk to your audience while you're retuning with the capo, because that tension and that pressure will do things to your guitar. But let's learn it in the key of C so we can get our hands together on this. So the first chord is going to be a C chord. Now, this is just good old cowboy C. Index fingers go on the first fret of the B, open G string, middle fingers on the second fret of the D, ring fingers on the third fret of the A. Not going to play the low E. Now, sometimes you might put your pinky on the third fret of the high E. And this begins all the little different nuances and nooks and crannies of this song. They're just little different fun things to do. Billy Strings does an incredible version of this song too, if you haven't heard him do it. But sometimes I'll put my index finger or my pinky on the third fret of that high E. It doesn't change anything, it's still C because you just add an additional G note, but it does set up this little transition nice. And that's where you're going to have your index finger is going to hit the second fret of the A, okay? And then your pinky's going to stay where he was on the third fret of the high E, and then ring finger is going to come down on the B string of the third fret. So you got that G over B, so. And then to A minor. Index finger on the first fret of the B. Middle finger is going to be on the second fret of the D. Ring finger is going to be on the second fret of the G. Open A, open high E, not playing the low E. And then we're going to go to an F. Now, there's a few different variations on this F. So let's just do a good old classic F. This is a lot of people's very first bar chord, right? So index finger on the first fret of the high E and the B. Middle finger is going to be on the second fret of the G. And then ring finger is going to be on the third fret of the D. Now sometimes, because this song's in the key of C, and you've got this open E so prevalent, even the melody, well, it ain't no use to dun, something like that. Anyway, but that ain't no use, it's the third of the key of C. Sometimes it's nice to have that F major 7, which is just an F with an E on top of it, right? Okay, and so this is going to be index finger on the first fret of the B, middle finger on the second fret of a G, ring finger on the third fret of the D, and then just an open E string. Also, if you liked the feeling of having that little jangly G up there, go ahead and put your pinky down there too. I'm giving you variations because you can use them as you like. They're all interchangeable. Pinky is going to be on the third fret of the high E, making that kind of an F add 9. So quick recap. And we'll do the right hand in a second. And then the F. And then back to C. Now sometimes at this point I might go. And that little moment there, sort of a Blackbird, by the Beatles. Right, that kind of moment. All that's happening here is I'm thinking of this as a G, and I'm only using my ring finger. And my ring finger is kind of laying at an angle where I'm killing that A string, but also I'm picking and plucking. It happens so fast. I'm only holding down that G note on the low E, and then I've got an open D, an open G, and an open B. And then from here, I'm gonna go to A minor 7, and that's gonna be index finger on the first fret of the B, open G, middle finger is gonna be on the second fret of the D. Again, this is just kind of stuff that I do in this. I think Billy Strings had a few little moments like this when he did it too. So. And then back to that G over B. Now in this case, once I get to that G over B, I'm probably going to use my middle finger on the second fret of the A, and then pinky's going to be on the third fret of the B. And I'm not playing the high E, and I'm doing the open D and the open G string in the middle. So, and then back to the C. Walk it down to A minor, right? Same thing again right there. So C to the G over B to the A minor. Then we get to this beautiful chord. In the recording, sometimes he's playing a straight D7 over F sharp, but for me, what's really beautiful is just, and it's actually a really simple chord to make. It's super easy. I'll show you how. It's a D9 over F sharp because I want that E up there too. And this is going to be index finger on the first fret of the B. This is going to be ring finger on the second fret of the G, and then your middle finger is going to be on the second fret of the low E. Now, because my middle finger is kind of arching over, I am killing that A string, not even intentionally, but it works out really nice, right? And the D is open. And that high E ringing, beautiful, to the G. Now, I don't want to go, because that's too much right there, but I might go sort of in the spirit of the bridge to Yesterday by the Beatles, or A Sweet Caroline, Neil Diamond, right? But all I'm doing here is I'm doing a ring finger on the low E, and then I've got an open D string, second fret of the D, and then pinky is going to hit that third fret of the D, and then back to C. I'm wishing there was something you could do or say. And the C7 is nice because this is just a C chord. Regular C, index finger on the first fret of the B, open G, middle finger on the second fret of the D, ring finger on the third fret of the A, and then your pinky's going to come down here on the third fret of the G string for C7, and then F, try to make me change my mind, and then back to that D9 over F sharp, and then walk it down from C. We never did too much talking, and you're back to F, C, G, C, maybe the fancy turnaround, and away you go. And that's all she wrote. There's, 4 verses, right? And it's just a repeat of that. There's a little harmonica solo. If you have a harmonica, if you're doing it in the key of C, you want a C harp. If you're doing an E, you want an E harp, because it's what they call straight there's cross and there's straight, and this is a straight where he's just playing just the tonic. I can't mention harmonica without mentioning my buddy Lane. Did a lesson with Lane. He's an incredible harmonica player. Quick shout out to him. Thumbnail looks like that. Has nothing to do with Bob Dylan, but it's a fun watch. So from this point, let's talk about what the right hand is doing. It sounds like to me that he's finger picking this, and the microphone's pretty close. The way that I like to do it is I like to approximate the motion of that finger picking, but I like to use a pick because I like the way this song kind of evolves into almost kind of a train beat kind of thing where you have... I'm going to show you how to do that, but first the finger picking part, or the flat picking part in this case. So what I'm doing, I'm going to hit a downstroke on the bass note of the chord, and then I'm going to skip, and so in this case it's going to be an A. So I'm on the A string, and I'm playing a C chord. So make a C chord really quick. And then now I'm going to play on the A string with a downstroke. And then I'm going to, I had to kind of think about it here. Then I'm going to hit the G string with the downstroke, and then an upstroke on the high E. And then back on the G with a downstroke, and then an upstroke on the B string. Now, before you start sweating here, there's an ish attached to this. This is not a precision. We are not playing the, like Dragon Force music here or Dream Theater, right? This is an approximation, and we're trying to create that rolling, lilting, taking a journey on the river of life kind of rhythmic pattern, right? So as long as your rhythm is right, and if you hit a string amiss, as long as it's somewhere in that chord, you're going to be fine. And in fact, no one's going to know, right? They're going to find out. No one's going to know, right? Where's that little meme?
Nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
No one's gonna know, right? Just play it. You're playing, really, the rhythm is the important part. If you hit a wrong string, it doesn't matter. And that down, up, that is coming from, I'm doing that from my wrist, and my thumb and my index finger here are pivoting just a little bit, but the way to get there is to do it slow. And by the way, if you can do it slow and actually sing it in such a way that it's kind of a haunting thing, that's not a bad thing either. And then just slowly speed it up over time. We're not in a race. We're trying to get somewhere, and we want to get there when it's time to get there. We don't want to get there any point sooner than that, right? So, with that, that's what I'm doing with my strumming as far as the pick goes. And then you just speed it up. I'll also say, if you feel like, man, I am miles away from having that, just stay on the C chord and just sit there and kind of mindlessly do it. Because what you're really trying to get is muscle memory in this hand, so that this hand can kind of operate independently from this hand as well as from your voice, right? And I think, for me anyway, one of the ways that I get there is I'll just isolate whatever the problem area is and just really stay focused on that. And then once I feel like I get that pretty good, then you start adding more chords and then start singing a little bit. Slow is good, slow is smooth, and smooth is fast, is what my mom would always say. So just play it slow until you get it smooth, and you can start to speed it up, okay? Speaking of speed it up, that train beat kind of thing. So this is like a down, up, down, and then on the second down, I'm actually hitting with my palm here. And I'm kind of almost muting it, you know what I mean? Almost kind of like I'm interrupting the resonance of the string with the concussion percussive hit of my palm, chuck-a-pop, chuck-a-pop, chuck-a-pop. And that's that kind of train motion. And when you speed that up enough to where it feels like that, and again, that's down, up, down, and then coming down with the palm of your right hand. When you first start doing it, it's going to sound a mess like that. You got the string ringing. Just keep doing it. Be patient with you. You'll get there when you get there. The getting there is that's the whole thing. That's the journey, right? And also, when you do get there and you feel like you can do it, you'll probably be able to explain it better than what I just gave you, right? To someone else. Trust me on that one, okay? So, that's the rhythm hand. That's the chords. Let's slap the capo on. I'm going to take a second to tune up really quick. And then I want to show you a couple things that I like to do that are not in the original song, but make for an interesting instrumental. Here we are. I'm in the key of E. One of the first things that you'll notice, so I'm capo 4, okay? And one of the first things you'll notice is that as you move up the neck with the capo, things get a little scrunchy, right? Some of the stuff that was no problem in terms of, finger spacing might feel like a problem now. And that's okay. Usually the culprit, if your hand hurts, try moving your thumb, adjusting your thumb, but also sometimes we don't get on the tips of our fingers. And so try, getting your fingers a little more arched to them, coming down on the fretboard versus kind of, laying across it, right? So a little scrunchy up here, but there's also tremendous advantage because the fret spacing is closer, so you can get into some places a whole lot easier, right? Take a quick drink of coffee here. So one of the things I like to do when you get to the instrumental, a couple little options here, and I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to try to give it to you in the shapes, like this is a C, but it's really an E, right? So I'll try not to be confusing with that. But so we get to the end of the song, or the end of maybe the second verse or something. It's time for the instrumental. So don't think twice, it's all right. What was that? So it's kind of there's a little Rhiannon moment, a little Fleetwood Mac. I'm sorry, Steely Dan fans. Right? So, what do we got here? Well, I'm going to put my index finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string. I'm going to have, kind of an open D. If it's open, it's okay, but I'm probably going to end up muting that because of the angle of my index finger. But definitely an open G string, and then I'm going to have my my middle finger here on the 3rd fret. It's really the 7th fret, but capo, right? Okay. And then pinky's going to be up here on this 9th fret, hitting that note. And so I'm going to go and resolve this to my ring finger on this 3rd fret, really the 7th fret. And then just move the index finger down. And when I move the index finger down to the 2nd fret, I'm going to have my pinky up here on this 9th fret again. 5th fret, 9th fret, capo. It's confusing. But I'm doing the same thing, just over this, G over B, that's really a B over D sharp chord. It sounds like this. So point of interest. And then once I get to this A minor, let's do this kind of a 2-finger A minor, and we're going to be on the 1st fret with the capo with our index finger, 1st fret of the B, and then middle finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the G, and I'm going to slide this up to 3 and 4, and then to 5 and 5 here on the B string. Little Rhiannon kind of moment there. But it's going to happen so quick in this context. It'll be. Or something like that, right? You make it your own. This is me giving you my ideas for this. One of the things that I was just talking to my buddy Mike about this. I don't know how we got off on this as a society, but I don't want to go to a concert and see them do it exactly like the record. Why do we want that? I have the record for that information. I want to go to a concert and have an experience that is a one-time deal. It's a one-off. It's a one of one. It is never to be duplicated again because the artist or the band is so invested in the moment. And I've paid money to be there, and the truth is we're all hoping for some kind of interaction where it's like, man, this really cool thing happened. They brought on a really cool guest, or they, I don't know, the guitar player, brought out a different guitar, he did something different, whatever, right? We're hoping for something that is unique, and more importantly, it's authentic to the moment, right? So it is important to learn songs note for note from the record so that you can become a better guitar player. I would also submit to you it is equally important for you to put your own stamp of your unique expression on the song when you're ready. Learn the song, do it the way they did it, best you can. But then when you start to get out there and perform, do it the best you can with the tools that you got. So if this key is too high for you, then move it down, or move it up and get underneath it, right? Make it your own. Make it your own. We are well stocked on people that are trying to sound like a recording. Authenticity, new for 2026. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. So anyway, so as we go through this, and after we've done this, that up major 7 kind of shit. And maybe I don't do it this time, or maybe I do. And it's all the same stuff again. But it sounds really nice with the capo up here like this. And if you want it to sound really cool, especially if you got a guitar buddy, have that person play it in the actual key of E without a capo, and those two things converging together. Oh man, it sounds so good. I love this song. Are there other songs like this that you're like, man, Nate, show me what you would do different on this one? I'd be happy to. I love doing that. In fact, it's funny. I was over at a friend's house just this past week, and one of the things that I love to do is after you're playing guitars for a little bit, just to look at him and say, hey, teach me something. And he taught me this really cool little bluegrass lick. It was Shane. And I can't play it yet. I did a little video of him playing that so I could go home and work on it. But it's something I am going to work on, and one day I'll play it and just kind of surprise him with it. And it isn't to say, hey, look, I got this, na boo boo. It is to say, hey, you helped me. And that's what I'm trying to do here, because you're my guitar buddy, and we're living life the best we can with a guitar in our hand. We do this every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. till whenever, Central Time, right here on YouTube. Your questions, your comments, your willingness to hit the subscribe button keeps this thing moving on. Thank you for that, and thank you for the privilege of your time. We'll see you next week for another Chords and Coffee. Well, it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, it'll never do somehow. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window, I'll be gone. You're the reason that I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's alright. It ain't no use in turning on your light, babe, the light I never knew. It ain't no use in turning on your light, babe, on the dark side of the road. And I'm wishing there was something you could do or say, try to make me change my mind and stay. But we never did too much talking anyway. Don't think twice, it's alright. So long, honey, babe. Where I'm bound, I can't tell. So long, honey, babe. It's time to say farewell. I ain't saying you treated me unkind. You could have done better, but I don't mind. We just sort of wasted our precious time. Don't think twice, it's alright. Don't think twice, it's alright.